the extent of your powers, little one. Now you will watch me draw upon the power of the universe to send that child into the netherworld. Now place it on the altar.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Age of Ruin solo play along series. This is RPG Boons. I'm Don Franco 3. As always, I'm going to timestamp the video so you can go exactly to where the adventure is actually going to start. So as the same, I have to assume that you've not played Age of Ruin series before. So first thing we have to do is go to character creation and give you all the resources you need to actually play on your phone if you're watching along on your phone. You don't really need pen or paper, but you know, if you take some screenshots, you'll be fine. But if you have the time to create a character, you can play this with numerous systems essentially that are old school style. So the foundation for the Age of Ruins is Shadowdark. If you've played any version of Dungeons and Dragons that has, you know, those 6 basic attributes, strength, all the way to, you know, constitution, charisma, all those things, those 6 different ones, then you essentially can play Shadowdark because you know how to play. You have a ability score. You roll to try to either cast a spell or save against some type of attack. And so here's just a basic overview. If I do not say it in the video for some reason, it's a DC 10 check. Basically, I want your modifiers to matter. Scaling really bothers me sometimes, so I think a DC 10 really helps make those ability modifiers matter. If you're going to use any other system, it's fine. But I'll be, at least when I'm giving these DCs, I'll be thinking about the stat modifiers or ability modifiers from Shadowdark. This is a table from Shadowdark. They basically use 5th edition ability scores. We're also going to be using the 2-point action system, which I'll explain. This kind of solves the D&D math problem of move, attack, or just attack, right? So it's 1+1, 1+1, or just 1. So we throw in there a second maneuver potentially that you can do, or reaction you can do at any time, spending 2 points during your turn, at least during an entire round of your turn, I guess you could argue. I'm not sure if that makes sense. These are the systems on the right here that are compatible with the 2-point action system. I have all these systems here, so Shadowdark, D&D 1E, BX, BECME. I realize that some of these have like procedures like BECME and 1E, 2E where you do things in order, but you can ignore that and basically go to straight turn-based actions and attacks, okay? And the way I'll be playing it, I'll kind of tell you who attacks first and whatnot. So you can play with old school essentials. So basically D&D 1E, BX, BECME, and old school essentials all look very, very similar, if not identical to each other. Castle and Crusades is very much old school, but has a lot of 5e content in it, meaning you have a lot of ability. So it's very simple in terms of low hit points and stuff like that, but you have all the abilities of 5e or other editions. Sagaborn is again similar. It's a completely different version of D&D. Very nice, actually. I think it's a pretty good addition. Pretty good game. Maybe one day I can show that. And for rules in terms of in Shadowdark, you know, most of this right here in this secondary moves, there's a second spell cast. It says tier 1. Some of these don't have a spell called a tier 1, but they do have cantrips, so it includes cantrips, tier 1 spells. And Sagaborn, there's mana points, so it's any spell that costs 0 or 1 point to use. And if there's no cantrip in the system, then it's level 1 spells only. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and generate that character. Here we're looking at shadowdarklings.net/create. These will always be in the description. Everything I'm showing you here will be in the description, so you guys can go ahead and go up there and do whatever you want with it. And like in terms of like creating a character here, we're gonna stick with the basics. Last time I did this, it kept unclicking scroll 3 for some reason. So I'm basically going to show you very basic character generation, but you could actually design your character. If you have the time right now, You can go through this. If you know the scrolls are interesting. They're all just kind of supplements to Shadowdark, the main core book. And they always have somewhere between 3 and 4 subclasses or new classes that you can use for the game. But for this, we're going to stick with the 4 main, just for the character creation. You can do whatever you want though. You can pick any PC you want. But for this, just for the purposes of showing you, we're going to stick with the main 4 core classes, which is priest, fighter, wizard, and thief. And so you go down to these tabs here. You have a random one, best fit, and then you just hit random character. Okay, once you do that, it sets it up for you. So it gives you a name, half orc, priest, background. Then it gives you all the different stats. Now you're a priest, so you probably want high wisdom, which it gives you. And then you can go down here. And so I always like to start my characters in higher levels. So let's go ahead and gain some levels. Priest spellbook, so you can go here and actually look at all the different spells if you want to take a look at them and write them down. But it will also automatically generate them for you if you don't want to choose. Okay, so I'll show you that here in a second. So let's go to these weapons, armor, and things you're going to get. So you can modify all these things after you've generated it. But we want to be 4th level at least. So I'm just going to give myself experience points. I still believe this should be a scroll down and click or something. But in this website, you have to give yourself the XP. So we're going to do that. Gain to level 3. Let's go to level 4. So we need to get 30. Is it 30? Yep, 30 XP. Gain to level 4. Once we do that, we can give ourselves more hit points. Again, you can pick a spell to gain. Cure wounds is always a good one. Hit points. There we go. We got a talent. Gain another spell. How about bless? Again, you pick whatever you want. And we pick another spell. Let's pick a smite. Okay. Now that we've done that, we've essentially finished, and we can create PDF. You can see it downloaded it on my computer. Click on it. Now we have a priest. Zoom out a little bit. Now if you want, you can take a screenshot of this and also the spells. So there's a short list of spells here, short handwritten list of spells. You can go ahead and take a picture of the screenshot of this if you want for good rot. If you don't care about being a priest, I also had a ranger from the previous game in case you were playing there. And then this is from even the more previous game, Thorn, which was a dwarf fighter. Okay. So the only other thing I want to do with these characters, let's go back to this real quick, is I believe in giving out magical items. So if you like randomness, I got this from this old school D&D. This is even before what you might call first edition. It's one of some of the original materials, not the exact original, it's after some of the original material. But you can randomly roll using percentile. Once you hit this, you can choose. You can see it says percentile here, and then it gives you alphabets here, and those alphabets coincide with what's next to these different things. So you can pick randomly, or depending on your class, you can choose to pick any you want. Okay, so if you're a magic user, maybe you want a wand. The other thing I can give you if you're not interested in these wands here is just essentially roll a I was gonna say 1d4, but that, as long as you have to ignore the 4, so you can reroll until you get a 3. You can get a wand plus 1 through 3, and that's gonna go to your spell casting ability. So again, I believe that you should have magical items. I really don't care about these bonuses. Like in this chart, it only goes up to a +2. I would give you, if you wanted to roll for a sword or any weapon of your choice, I would give you a +1 to 3 again. Now, if you're going to use this chart, you have to use it this way, right? So you can get a roll for a +3 sword and then also get these extra bonuses I don't think so, and they don't stack anyways. So that's one thing I want you to do, is give yourself a magical item no matter what. The second thing I want to do is we're going to be talking about the 2-point action system, okay? So this is very briefly, we're going to go over it. You know what, maybe we should go over the other way you can generate a character. So there's a website here called fastcharacter.com where you can go and basically create a BX character, okay? So you go here, you see it says D&D BX. It's already pointing a little arrow to it because I clicked it earlier. And again, we just choose level 4. And I like to choose elves because I have a little bit of magic. And if you want, you can, you know, do 3d6 rolls or whatever, but it's going to actually just give you generated character ability scores. So go ahead and click this here. And now you can see I'm a 4th level elf. My name is Alwanol Setter, neutral alignment, blah, blah, blah. The armor class, remember, it's old school style, so it's low armor class is better. If you want to know what this armor class is in our game, it's just 20 minus this number. So it's 17 would actually be the armor class. The only thing is that these hit points are a little low. I would give yourself up to 20. So whatever you roll or whatever it generates for you, make sure you have 20 hit points. I like to give the average of a D8 at least, which is a 5. So 5 times 4 is 20. We don't necessarily need to use these saving throws. Excuse me. But you can use these during the game. That's something, if you're familiar with BX and old school D&D, you can use these for whatever saves I give you. Otherwise, again, we're going to use those ability score modifiers. So if I say make a strength check, strength save, or whatever it is, we're going to be using these modifiers. So it'd be good to just look at this, look at your character sheet, and recall what are these bonuses for here, okay? In terms of the weapon, same thing, use the ability score modifiers. Okay, so in this case it's a strength. I believe this is a +1, and it is +1, so you would just give yourself +1 to your weapon attacks. It has that old school style of attacking, right? So it's going against the Thaco, the armor class 0 AC, blah blah blah. So we're just going to ignore that. Give yourself a sword attack of +1. Now you have a damage of 1d8 +1 and so forth. What I really liked about this, it didn't show up here, but they actually do give you magical weapons. So, oh, there it is, shield +1. Okay, so this is what I like about this fast character generator. It actually gives you magical weapons, which the Shadowdarklings does not, which kind of sucks, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. So let's go back to the 2-point action system. I think it's pretty simple. Again, previously in most all editions, actually even for 5e, because they included a bonus action. You don't know when you can use a bonus action. Even though in 5.5 they've given you more bonus actions, the bonus action was really difficult to deal with sometimes. So this uses old school style. Shadowdark uses old school style mechanics, kind of more like 2nd edition, I would argue. You can watch my action economy evolution video if you want to kind of see what I'm getting at. But normally in Shadowdark, you can move on your turn. You can move and attack or attack, but that's it. You can't do 2 attacks. In the 2 action point system, basically at any given time, you have 2 points to use. And if you happen to go into a combat round or a combat situation, you regenerate 2 points at the end of your turn, right? So you start with 2 points, and before it's actually your turn, let's say there's some type of initiative roll, or it's your turn next, or your turn is not for a couple more people need to go before you. You can do reactions, which is parry block, -2 to the attacker's roll. Now this is pretty common. This is actually old school D&D chainmail had this parry. But in my situation, I'm allowing a dexterity modifier if you're proficient in the weapon you're holding. So it really makes that parry block matter. We both know that if you play Shadowdark or any old school game, it's a little lethal, and so it's true for Shadowdark as well. Another reaction is dive. So this is really a last resort maneuver. If you happen to be very low hit points and you're about to die, you would essentially take the dive action. It has to be an open line of sight area. The -5 goes to the penalty, -5 to the attacker's -5 penalty to the attacker. In addition, you fall prone. So this is really meant to imitate or emulate in those movies where the person is just trying to dive out of the way and not get killed, right? They're about to be crushed, or there's big blasts, and all they can do is dive, because once you dive, you fall prone, and to stand from prone, it costs you an action point. So before your even turn comes up, if you're very low on hit points, you could dive, fall prone, and then stand up. And then for your turn, you will have nothing to do. You'll have 0 points, right? You'll just be trying to survive, essentially. But at the end of your turn, you get 2 more. That doesn't mean you get to use them right away, but that means once your turn is over, you get 2 points. Now, during your turn, if you have both points, now these are primary maneuvers, like I mentioned earlier in Shadowdark, which is move, melee, and spellcast. We're going to be using a medium magic setting for the 2-point action system, which allows you to cast a spell for your second action. So this is called secondary maneuvers. So no matter what your primary move was, it's one of the originals. Your next move counts as your second move attack. Now, if you use a reaction and then it's your turn, you're stuck with the primary maneuver, right? So if you have that 1 point left, but if you have 2 points left, you have a second move here. You can move up to your max, which is pretty standard, similar to what you would normally see in Shadowdark. The addition, now I added a second attack, which you take a -3 penalty, which is equal to a difficulty class in Shadowdark. Or you can do a second spell cast, tier 1. It has to be single targeting, so one thing can only target, and non-incapacitating. And the example I give is if it's a darkness spell of something, or fog, which means it impairs somebody's vision or a monster's vision, you cannot cast that spell. Okay? And I think that covers everything. I guess I didn't mention jump, but in Shadowdark there is no jump calculation, but I created one here. Basically, you could, at any given time, you can jump 5 feet, which is a space of 1 move, and that's essentially the space next to you. But if you happen to have higher strength, you can add your strength modifier, and if you have running distance with the full move, I would say you get ×2 that jump. So I calculated out, you can get essentially Olympic level jumping style here. Okay, and the final thing I want to show you is the RPG Boons website. Sorry, it's a Don Franco 3 Games. I created a game, Monster Conquest. I played at Gen Con. It always sells. But you go to donfranco3games.com, go to the RPG Boons tab, and you can see here on the right, it's a bunch of free downloadable material. So I have the 2-point action system explained. I actually created a mentalist class, has a little bit of options for Shadowdark, gives you more options in terms of character building. And then here you can see I have 3 different character sheet types, right? So there's low magic setting, medium magic setting, high magic setting. We're going to use the medium magic setting. So if you click on that, which I've already done, you can get a character sheet that looks just like this. Now this is almost carbon copy, of course, of Shadowdark, except I threw in the 2-point combat action system for reference at any given time. So you basically go through the normal character creation process, add all these things, you know, equipment, but anytime you're ready to play, you can just straight up look at this combat system here and know exactly how to use it, right? Good way to reference it. Now the final thing we need to cover are dice. If you're playing on your phone, I've done this with my phone. I've actually done all this character creation with Shadow Darklings and Fast Character and used virtual dice on my phone. Okay, so if you go to dieharddice.com/pages/dice roller, of course, again, this is in the description. I'm not getting paid for any of this. I just found these and I think these are very cool and useful. But basically you go in there, you download. If you come in, it should be this is not actually the top of the page, so this is the top of the page. Scroll down, put it in front and center. It actually comes with an empty screen like this. You can then just pick any dice that you want. It rolls it. I never recommend taking the first roll, but you can if you want. Then you can either shake it yourself and then let it go. 10, right? It actually gives you the result. Or you can throw it in this little monster box or mimic, and it rolls it for you. 10 again. Okay, now if you want to get rid of this dice and start fresh, This button here actually shows you the dice. Now you can do, 3d6 damage, 1, 2, 3. Wait for your pause. Now it tells you how much damage. Boom, that's actually pretty good. Sweep it, throw d20. So we're going to be using this as a die roller during the game, so you can do that as well. So with that being said, I think we're ready to go. This is where the timestamp will occur. And if you've previously, well, I'll mention this as soon as we start, actually. So before, ready? Are you ready? Go.
It has been several hundred years since the collapse of the Astoria Golden Age. A collapse caused by power and magic. The great houses have fallen. Magic knowledge has been all but lost, and all major cities have been abandoned and overrun by plant life and monsters. All that is left are barricaded small secluded hamlets, villages, and scarce towns. You are in the age of ruin. It is also the age of exploration. The few who dare leave their protected walls seek fortune, a better life, or power. Be part of the few, the bold who seek to rebuild, face the dangers, and discover of unearthed arcana. Your journey begins now.
All right. If it came off choppy, it's literally because of the streaming. It plays smoothly on my end, so I can apologize, but it's really the internet's fault. Okay, so this is 700 years after the fall of civilization, essentially what is known as the Golden Age. And the main cause, as people normally know, is that it was caused by magic in some kind of way. The records have been lost. Main factions are gone. Everybody's just trying to build up. The population's just trying to build back up. And it's essentially the Dark Ages. Now, this is World's End Hamlet. This is at what you would call the edge of our known civilization. I guess everything beyond this are larger cities, ancient cities, and actually we really don't know what's even beyond that. But Hamlet's and World's End Hamlet here is where people go. It's like a crossroads. People come here and decide to explore either north, south. We know there's some smaller town. There's another hamlet or town up north. South, there is a body of water. Again, everything's just being rediscovered. All the traditional knowledge is lost. You can find some ancient maps if you know the right people or have the right contacts. But you are here at World's Hamlet. Now, if you played the previous adventure where my beer buddy bugged out, and you're playing again here, you are back in town. Okay. If this is your first time here at World's End, you just created a character. You've come through the checkpoint gates on the top left here. You're allowed to come in with weapons. And as you come in through World's End, you notice that everybody, even the commoners, are carrying weapons. This is where marauders, raiders might come to try to cause problems. So everybody here is prepared for a little bit of combat. So nobody's, completely helpless here. As you came in, you notice this wall is being reconstructed from a previous battle that may have occurred. This entire tower, it's almost complete, but it's being reconstructed. And if you've been here the whole time, you know that there's a magistrate. He's in charge of everything. And if you played the previous adventure, you had a beer buddy who essentially, if he survived, was with you on a fight against a centipede. If not, it got dragged down into a hole where you adventured, and it got basically lost. Your friend was gone, disappeared. And if you survived, which I actually played it, and I did really well, my beer buddy bugged out. And I was able to basically survive with like 3 henchmen, and I did just fine. So I always go back and play these just to see if they're playable, and they are. So now you're back into town. Now, depending on who you are and who you decided to create, if you decided to come in as a new character, maybe you died previously, this is your first time here, this H represents you. If you are the guy who came back from the beer bugged out, you recall seeing a cave at the very, I guess it was the end of the cave, and there was an entrance there, and when you looked through the entrance you saw what you would call maybe a gold deposit against the wall, and just beyond that you saw what might appear to be a dungeon, perhaps a more constructed brick layered situation. So you saw that, and most of the guys did not want to be down there anymore. They were a little creeped out and they took off. So everybody came up to the surface, and the guys, you saw it, the guys saw it because everybody was looking down that tunnel hall trying to check out whether or not to go further, but nobody wanted to stay. It looked creepy in a dungeon. No one was expecting a dungeon down there. So you guys all come up. If you're an outside observer, you can hear a group of people talking about this. They went down there, they killed a bug, and even one of the guys tells the magistrate, because he's a loyal man to the magistrate, okay, assuming that he survived from your previous game and you're part of that, and I'm going to base it off that they survived. So he tells the magistrate, we saw, no, there's a dungeon of some kind, something's constructed down there, and we also saw a gold deposit, some type of ore. It looks like gold. And the magistrate's okay, looks around. If you're part of the group or if you're observing from the outside, you can overhear this. All right, you're kind of the fly on the wall situation. You're far enough that you can hear what's going on, but they don't really notice that you're noticing, right? I don't want you to do a deception check or anything. I'm going to give it to you that you're just kind of there and you happen to overhear. Maybe it's the echoing of the words and the sound in that little area. But the magistrate tells everybody, look, let's not tell anybody about this. Let's worry about this tomorrow. And tomorrow, I'm going to try to do very quietly. You know how crazy things can get around here. People won't want that gold. This is the town's gold. And everybody here is going to get a cut. But tomorrow, let's go slowly. I'll go tonight. I'll go get some mining picks. And then I'm going to meet you guys all down here tomorrow, bright and early at 6 a.m. Okay? And then everybody disperses. Okay? So if you're part of that group, you either disperse and go back to the room and you decide to listen to the magistrate. So this is where the options come in, okay? You're either part of that group and you decide to disperse and come back the next day at 6 a.m. to help to whatever the magistrate has coming to put together in terms of mining down there. Or you're the guy who overheard, okay? You overheard, and so what I would want you to do is just go up to the magistrate and say, hey, I heard what's happening here. I want in on this. And he's going to just let you go. Okay. He goes, okay. As long as you keep your mouth shut, you're in. Then, or you have the other option, depending on what you want to do. If you're the guy who was there previously on the mission, you can decide, hey, you know what? I want to get some of this gold for myself. And so you might want to sneak down there tonight to get some gold, to maybe take a dagger, take a sword, and pick off some of that gold and get some of that gold for yourself. Or if you do not want to talk to the magistrate and you just got here, you don't have to tell him, and you yourself decide, I'm going to come back and look for where this hidden area is, and I know I'm close by it. I'm just going to go down there by myself and try to take this gold for myself. So right now you need to decide what you want to do. Okay? So think about that. And no matter what you decide, you either solo tonight down there or you're back with the magistrate. If you're back with the magistrate, then you actually come with 3 men with pickaxes, okay, plus yourself. And if your beer buddy's still around, I'll give you that +1 person there, okay? So you'll have 4 people with you. If your beer buddy wasn't able to survive, then it's just 3 in you. If you come by yourself, you jump down over here. This is where the entrance was, okay, this little flashing light. You go back to, if this is your first time here or you're coming back, you find it, you find the location, no investigation check needed, you get down here. So you're either with people or you're here by yourself. As you proceed to go down this path, if you haven't been here before, this entire wall's cut off, but below here is a 30-foot drop, and then in this dark area, it's a complete dark abyss. Okay. Previously, through just the fate of rolls, we went to the right where we had found eggs here, of the centipede. Battled a centipede, and in fact, as you get over here, you can see centipede blood still. But most of the body after it dropped here is missing. That's interesting. But if you're the first time here, you just see some leftover, a little bit of leftover carcass of a bug. You can go back down here and show that this is indeed where you were before. You go back around and you start going under this bridge area here to go to the next room. How did I do that? Because I want to learn how to pan on this. So you're going down here, you enter this area, right? You're under here, you start going down. And so if this is your first time here, you're like, what the hell were these people talking about? Like, I don't see anything. Oh, wait. There's a tunnel right there. Okay. So if you're by yourself or with 3 people, you look down a tunnel. And from here, there's a tunnel going left. This map is from Dungeon Mapster. I should note that I'm not being sponsored by anybody. I just want to give these guys props. And they do post their maps online, so I just use them. I'm assuming they're good to go. I'm not selling anything here. So they go to here, and then you can actually go there and purchase their website. Go to their website, their Patreon, whatever they have, and actually get high definition versions of these maps. So you get to this entrance and you look down the hall. You see that sliver of gold. If you're with several men or just you guys can squeeze in there. So you can see where I'm getting at here. There is indeed something over here. You can see that there's a tunnel that's connecting from here to here, but you can see that the well-structured brick over here. There's a staircase going downward even further, and the gold is situated in here somewhere. So first you start picking at it, okay? You see the gold. And in fact, one of the other guys, he's trying to kind of block this exit entrance area. He's picking up some rocks that are nearby. Clearly something burrowed through this. This is not a real man-made tunnel. And this happens to be a dead end. You're not sure why. So you're picking. Now, first thing I want you to do, well, actually you keep picking and then you hear a low mumbling sound. So I want you to make a perception check or wisdom check, DC 10, to see if you heard voices, like a voice. So go ahead and do that, DC 10. All right. If you heard it, then you're alert. You're like, what the hell was that? And the men, it's either you by yourself or the men are with you. If you didn't hear that, as you're standing there, all of a sudden, an entity begins to crawl from underneath you. There we go. What is it? Just underneath you, this entity monster comes out, and I need you to make, again, if you did not perceive, then this entity comes out underneath you and immediately attacks you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a virtual die roll against you. 2 attacks, death touch. Attack number 1. 4 plus nothing, because I believe there's no roll hit bonuses. Actually, no, there is, but 9. There's poly. You definitely have more than 9 armor class. Second attack. Oh my god, 10. So unless somehow you have a 10 armor class, fail on the DM, GM, whatever, comes up, tries to break through. Now remember, henchmen in this game, which are these other miners, if you came with other miners, basically take the attack for you if you get a hit. Okay, So you can see immediately all these miners, if they're with you, they swing their attacks at this ghost, causing they go completely through the ghost's body. No contact is made. So they're like, and it's pretty tight in there. It's 5 feet, but they're unable to hit it. So now it's your turn. Actually, the monster gets a second round of attacks because you failed. If you failed the perception check, it gets a second round of attacks. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. 2 attacks from the Wraith. Oh my God, you are getting very lucky here. Second attack, 15. I don't know if that hits, but if you have the armor class, you decide if it hits. Okay. I don't know what your armor class is, but if it hits, it does 1d8 plus the life drain. The life drain is a 1d4 con damage. Okay. Now, if you're by yourself, if you decided to come down here by yourself, you're going to take this all. Apologies, very quick. I forgot what the damage is. Okay, so if you're here by yourself, you're going to take 5 points of damage, and your constitution drops by 1. If you're here with henchmen, one of the miners dies. Okay. Now I want you to use a 2-point action system, right? So if you're a priest and you're using turn undead, then you cast it, make a d20 roll for that monster, okay? And see if it survives. Charisma check, right? So here's a good point to kind of just pause. You can screenshot this to see what's the abilities and attacks of this monster, of this ghost. Okay, you can do that, and then you can cast turn undead. It could run, and if it runs for 5 rounds, you can stop right here. And if you're solo, you can decide to run away and to go to the magistrate. Okay, if you're not solo, then you can do 2 things. You can try to attempt to flee to get out of here, and try to get the magistrate to send more people down with you. Or you can try to risk it and attack this monster, okay? Again, this is kind of the hard part about solo play along, is you actually have to play some of this attacking in combat by yourself. Now remember, if you're by yourself, you can escape. With the DC, if you're by yourself, actually it's a DC 10 dexterity check to escape, and for every 3 that you fail, you lose a henchman. Or if you fail, the ghost gets to take 1 attack at you before you're able to run. Okay, but if you stay, you can combat this. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is if you escaped, or if there's 2 options. You either escaped and then you went back and told the magistrate what's happening here, and the magistrate will then give you an additional 1d6 men to come down here. Okay, so you can roll a d6. You can either take my roll, which is 6. Jesus, that's a really good one. But again, I never really take my first roll. And that's what the magistrate gives you. Yeah, look at this. What the hell? Maybe I usually say roll it 3 times before you're sure. There. Okay, whatever. So it's up to you. Roll it yourself or take my rolls. If you escape, you're able to come back with 6 more men. And you're able to come back here. Okay. If you get close, I'm pretty sure with by yourself, you're not probably going to survive this. And if you did turn undead, you probably bailed. And if you're by yourself and didn't want to run, or you stood here with the miners, you can run at any time with the miners, by the way. If it's you and 1 miner and you're losing, everybody's dying, you can still run. In either case, you come back here with either more men, Hopefully you didn't die. Okay. You should have a solid 20 hit points, but you could have your constitution reduced. Whatever the case may be, you come back to the entrance here, okay? And now you're either loaded with a bunch of men, or no, you're definitely loaded with a bunch of men. I don't know how many you have, and remember, those sidekicks, or sorry, those henchmen, take the damage for you and die. They only have 1 hit point, essentially. So you walk in, you're trying to figure out where this ghost is. So you came back, you want to investigate, you want to figure out where the ghost is. And we'll just say you do have those 6 henchmen. You might as well take that roll ahead. Now, I don't want to say which way you go. So either left for low and top for high. And we're just going to take this die, 1 through 3 and 4 through 6. 3. This is the part where we kind of just have to play it as is. So this is your torch. You know, you can see in here. Okay. Where am I? Where am I? Okay, we're gonna roll that d6. Do I go top or left? On the top, you do see some light. So on the left, you don't see any lights. So I think you're more inclined to go north or up, but you know what? I still want to make it random. So, but you're more inclined. So I'm gonna do 1 to 2 left and 4 to 6 top, because there's a little bit of lights there. You're a little more curious about that. There you go. So you decide to go up. You and your guys, you're going through, you're checking stuff out. We got to find that wraith. On top of that, you know what? Before we go any further, the magistrate did bless everybody's weapons, okay? Before you left, he did something unexpected. If you've seen Game of Thrones in The Longest Night, he does some enchantation on everybody's weapons. He blesses them. They all become magical. And then he allows you to come up here. All right, so everybody at least has magical weapons. For the moment, it only lasts for a while. You enter, and you can see this glowing pit. And the men start walking around. They start checking out everything. Everybody's slowly moving around this area. Okay. And as the men are searching around this area, you do start seeing these ghostly images, and everybody a little bit freaks out, okay? Now I want, actually, all your henchmen, if you have 6, all your henchmen have to make a DC 10 wisdom check, or they're going to be absorbed by this energy. All right, so I'm just gonna do, there's 6 men, we're gonna do 6. We're gonna have to ignore the it's gonna add all the 20s together. I'm just gonna throw them in there though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, whatever's bright. So we have one guy saved, 2 guys saved, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them failed. The die don't lie, my friends. The die don't lie. So 4 of your guys are immediately start shaking. And you see their body begins to be drained of life itself, and they become very thin, emaciated, till they become very bony, and they basically just drop to the floor. And right at that moment, you do hear it seems that you may have awakened something here. And as you're standing there, it's just you and 2 henchmen, and maybe your beer buddy if you happen to have him. these monsters begin to walk towards you. All right, let's see. Let's grab them all. And from the north end area, you see skeleton warriors coming through. Right, so it's you, 2 henchmen, and maybe your beer buddy if you played previously and you have them with you. And they proceed to go into combat with you. You know what? They're a little big. There we go. So they run into the room now. Because these guys are showing up and you just lost 4 men, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tactical advantage, okay? Meaning I'm going to allow you to attack first, okay? So this is the skeleton stat block. Now this is the part where, you know, I wish I could actually be there with you and play it with you. So maybe one of these days I can do a roll 20 session, but we have to get volunteers. Leave a comment actually if you are interested in me running a roll 20 game where you just have your Shadowdark character sheet. We're gonna use the honor system, so you have your character sheet, and then I would just basically show you the map. We can do the rolls on screen, and then you have your character sheet in front of you. You keep track of it yourself. You don't need to upload character, create character on Shadowdark. We'll make it very simple. This way you can come to the Shadowdark character generator, produce it right away, maybe spend 10 minutes if you really want to customize it, but then you can just use that character sheet and play. So at this point, I want you to be able to take 2 attacks on these incoming skeletons. You can see they have pretty decent hit points, okay? So go ahead and take attacks. I'll let you take 2 free rounds. So as they started coming through this, I'll let you take 2 free rounds of attacks. And this is the order they're coming in through that passage, okay? So if you're a magic user and you have a spell that chain hits or hits 5x30 or has a cone, you can do the attack on them. If you're a priest, you can cast Turn Undead again. Now, if you cast Turn Undead and they run away, you've not solved the problem, but it allows you to escape. So you can escape if you want, leaving these skeletons down here. It took you a rope to get down here, which I didn't disclose earlier, but it takes you a 30-foot climb, so you can easily get out of here and escape. Okay. If you decide to stay down here and fight these guys, okay, this is a deadly situation. I'm sorry, it is like this sometimes. Anything you want to you want to retreat though, it's a DC 10 dexterity check. If you fail, the monster closest to you, at least one, gets to swing an attack at you. If you stay after 4 rounds, okay, I need you to count them, 4 rounds, the ghost comes back. I know, it's getting lethal. It's getting lethal. Ghost comes back, and now you will be battling not only skeletons, but the the ghost also. So 4 rounds in, if you haven't wiped out these skeletons, the wraith comes in. I do want you to make a DC 10 wisdom check. If you don't hear the ghost coming, it takes its 2 attacks. Assuming you still have henchmen, you know what to do with those. If you're feeling overwhelmed, DC 10, I'm going to let you decide. I mean, actually make a roll for it. You're either roll D6. If you're low, you're close. If you're high, you're further away. If you're further away, that means that these guys can get this attack as you leave on you. If you're 1 through 3, then the ghost gets the attack on you. Okay, so that's it, everybody. I think I camped do much more than this. You got to play it out the combat. Here's the ghost stats again. You can screenshot that. Pause, I guess, for a second. Then there's the skeletons here. You can screenshot that. And in fact, I think we can get them all in here. Yes. So go ahead and do that. So that's all I got today for the live play. This is RPG Boons. We did it during the witching hours. You saw we started around 3:50 something. This one went a little long, but that's how it goes sometimes. The character creation I'll timestamp it. If you saw my recent The Manganiello Way video, check it out. It's about something like this. You can come here to the Age of Ruin Exploration Sword and Sorcery series and essentially really build the background for a character and get some XP out of it as well. Every monster here is actually worth, a ghost is worth, in Shadowdark terms, 3 experience points and 1 experience points per skeleton killed. If you saw, it's a little easy to gain experience in Shadowdark. Not really easy, but it's simplified. I don't really like the gold system. Anyways, we can talk about that another time. So I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Boons, The Witching Hour, Age of Exploration, Age of Ruin, Sword and Sorcery. Thank you for stopping by.